we are working hard to make sure there are opportunities for family members to be connected and engaged, um, and they don't all have to look the same way.
Welcome to the Family Business Connection, a Prairie Family Business Association podcast, where we lift up the stories behind family businesses who thrive for generations. I'm your host, Stephanie Larscheid. On Family Business Connection, we explore the topics our family business members request most often: communication, culture, innovation, leadership, strategy, and succession, by hearing from the family business leaders who are solving problems day in and day out and building a legacy for their businesses and their families. In this episode, we welcome Brittney Ray, a fifth-generation married-in of Ritter Company, a portfolio of businesses in agriculture, telecommunications, fire and life safety, and information technology services across 7 states. In our conversation, we discuss Brittney's role within the Family Council, who makes up the Family Council, what the Family Council does, and why she's passionate about what a Family Council can do for both the family and the business. Thanks for joining us in this episode of Family Business Connection. Before we get into my conversation with Brittney, here's a word from our sponsor, JP Morgan Chase. JP Morgan Chase & Co. is a leader in investment banking, financial services for consumers, small business and commercial banking, financial transaction processing, asset management, and private equity. The firm serves millions of consumers, small businesses, and many of the world's most prominent corporate, institutional, and government clients. JP Morgan Chase & Co. combines 2 of the world's premier financial brands, JP Morgan and Chase. Learn more at jpmorganchase.com. Welcome to this episode with Brittney Ray of Ritter Company. We're really excited to dive into some key questions around family councils and family governance. Welcome, Brittney.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm glad to be here.
To start off, describe Ritter Company.
Sure. Ritter Company was founded in Marktree, Arkansas by Ernest Ritter in 1889. So any of you math wizards out there, we've been around for 135 years. We started as a general store, and since then we've been an ice plant and a cotton gin and an oil company and a saloon and a bank. So we've lived a lot of lives and adapted through social and economic changes. And now we are a portfolio of direct investments in a variety of operating businesses across several industries, which include agriculture, telephone and internet services, IT management services, and fire and life safety. And our family is 6th generation, which is remarkable to me as a married-in. I'm just so impressed by the Ritters. We have 3 branches of our family. There are about 80 family members, 18 or so kiddos, and 1 is on the way and should be here any minute now. And we are across the country. We live in 16 states. So we are pretty geographically diverse.
Remarkable. So we talk often about families reaching Century Club status, and you have certainly reached that and then some. And it doesn't happen without a lot of hard work and dedication, family cohesion and harmony along the way. And I know with what you're doing with Family Council, that really keys into what the next 100 years look like for the Ritter family and Ritter Company. And so, first of all, congratulations on reaching that status, 135 years, 6 generations. Very impressive, and what we're trying to help families achieve. Let's talk about some of the structure that you're putting in place. You mentioned that you're a married-in and you have a role on the Family Council. Tell us about that.
I do. I am a married-in. I joined the family in 2018, and I remember going to my first meeting. It was like, I had no idea. Okay, this is a thing. This is a real thing. I joined the Family Council in 2020. during COVID, my husband and I escaped New York City and spent some time with my in-laws in Arkansas. And my mother-in-law was tapping me for engagement, and so I joined then. In 2021, I became the family council chair, and at that point, it was a stipend role. It was 20 hours a month. And last year, last May, it grew into a full-time role. So now I am an employee of the company, and I get to spend my full-time capacity and brain space thinking about family topics and movement and growth and what that looks like for our family. Our family council is comprised of three individuals who are their branch representatives. That's for each branch of our family, and four at-large members. So we have 7 voting members. And then when it suits us and when it's the right time or the right fit, we may add a non-voting member to increase engagement if there's someone in particular that really wants to join. And so we do have an 8th member right now, but there hasn't been any turnover recently, which is really lovely in terms of just having a nice momentum and energy with our group. We also have a philanthropy committee and an owners committee, and we have a few board members that are family directors.
Very interesting. And the involvement is really good to hear as well. So, when you took on the role, was that the first time that the Ritter family has created a family council, or did it exist before you stepped into your role?
No, actually, our family council began in 2008. So they have been working hard at family governance for a while now. And it has changed and evolved and shifted as the needs and have changed and evolved and shifted. And the family council actually began at the same time that the our board moved to a majority of independent directors. And so it was really important to maintain the family voice. And so establishing the family council alongside of changes on the board, I think it provided some sense of security and purpose to the family. And it helped to smooth some transition and also make sure that the right people were at the right table for different conversations.
Very interesting. And I like that that happened alongside one another with the
Mm-hmm.
independent board members and with the family council development. What would you say to a family who is considering going into the family council world and considering implementing that? What would you say from your experiences?
From from my experience and from what I've learned from those who have come before me is that the family council is tasked with prioritizing the growth of the family. And we probably can all agree that if there's unhealthiness in the family, it may impact unhealthiness in the business. And so the family council has the privilege and responsibility of providing structure for that family growth. And if you expect that the next generation of your family and the next generation of your family are just going to get bigger and bigger, I'd suggest that you put some of these structures in place now when it might be a tad easier than when, your family population is close to 100 or more. But the family council's job is really to conceive and plan and execute the strategy to fulfill your family's mission, vision, and values. What's important to your family, and that might look like talent development and sending a family member to one of your conferences and making sure that they're able to connect and make meaningful connections with other people in family business. Or maybe that looks like educating your family members and having an expert come and talk to your family about a particular topic. Um, for our council right now, a lot of it is socializing ideas. For example, social impact. What do we want our social impact to look like together? And what will that mean for us? It means the family council is busy building consensus and building trust, and forecasting those places of tension. So it's really nice to have a group of people who are focused on that work, and they are tasked with representing different individuals and different branches of your family, different perspectives. So all those points can be in the conversation. I would I would encourage you to build those structures sooner rather than later.
Brittney, I know that your family council has been a big piece of what you're working on and the governance structure that the Ritter family is working to create and has been for many years. Can you tell us about how often you meet and who's involved? What does your family council look like?
Sure, yes. We meet twice a year. We have our annual meeting and an annual uh, family meeting and shareholder meeting in May. And then in the fall, we meet together and we call that our retreat. So the May meeting is a little more business focused. That's when we're getting updates about performance over the last year. We're asking questions about investment strategy, and it's more ownership topic focused. And then our fall retreat is really about togetherness, building connections across branches, having fun together so that we want to stay in business together. And that's a big place where we prioritize education and discussion. And then philanthropic efforts, updates, or community service can take place at either of those. But we did just come together in May and we kind of flipped the script a little bit about what the format was going to be. And we, instead of long presentations, we tried to be more brief with presentations. We had panel discussions, we used small groups, we had large group discussion. We're very fortunate to have lots of talented family members who want to contribute in different ways. And for us, that doesn't mean running the business. We had a family member who is a clinical psychologist, and he facilitated a conversation around identity and what that means to our senior gen and our next gen, our youngest Ritters. And we were able to get into some points of tension and see clarity and build trust across branches, across generations, to listen more carefully and fully. And I feel like the thing that I'm most proud of with that meeting, is that the family trusted us to try something new and came along with us as we flipped the script a little bit. And at the end of the day, we had been meeting all day. We had an event the night before, and we got home from dinner, from a barbecue place in Memphis that the whole family loves. Really casual, really down to earth. But we got back to the hotel we were staying at, and almost every single adult family member came upstairs to the rooftop bar, and it was a beautiful view of the bridge in Memphis, and we just talked. And that was time that the family was electing to spend together. We had just had a whole meeting and a whole day of events and things, and we still wanted to be together. And that tells me that we are moving in the right direction, and we're swimming along. And I just feel so proud of our family and our group and the council for um, modeling unity and thoughtful discussion and connection.
It's really interesting to hear your perspective on that as a married in family member as well, and to hear your pride in what you created and what the outcome was unexpected, expected. And that's really tremendous. You are married in to your spouse's family's business. What are some of the opportunities and perhaps the challenges that come along with being a married in? What's your perspective there?
Well, I've got to say that I don't do anything alone. I mean, I might be keeping my foot on the pedal and driving the car, but um, the the family and the council and many before me in leadership have built the foundation that we're able to stand on and move forward with. So it's definitely not it's not just because of me that all of this is happening. But I guess the opportunity as a married in that I saw was just a way to add value because uh, and contribute to something that was bigger than me. I feel very fortunate that my husband's ownership contributes to our family's picture of financial security. That's just such a tremendous blessing, and I don't take it for granted. So I wanted to become engaged because I wanted to add value, and that was an exciting opportunity for me. Um, Will's family is also smart and thoughtful and creative and quirky, and I love to learn with them and from them and alongside them. So, um, yes, there is a financial return that comes with ownership, but the emotional return is really rewarding.
From that standpoint as well, being sixth generation, 135 years old, there have been probably peaks and valleys over that period of time with the business, and there have been choices, there probably are currently choices that are being made to stay in business together. What would you say about that from your perspective as a married in, and why you'd encourage the family business to stay in the family?
Well, I think it's important to provide opportunities for family members who are unsatisfied with their ownership, an exit strategy. Um, Even though the Ritters are sometimes dissatisfied or unhappy or worried or have a range of feelings, um, the Ritters do not exit the family business, and I think that so much of that can be attributed to having a long-term perspective and patience, and perpetuating the business is so important to many, many family members. Um, and so having the patience and commitment to hang in there and have difficult conversations um, is, I think, some of the secret sauce to passing the business along. It's who is it for, and what do we want to leave them? And it's bigger than one generation or one nuclear family or one individual.
Very much so. I think that that long-term perspective is something that maybe founders don't always have in front of them as they've built a business and are experiencing what their baby, being the business, is
Mm,
doing or producing. And something that as you get to third, fourth, fifth, and now sixth generation, that you can really see what has happened and the potential for what's down the road, and investing together in that way. And that's such an important aspect of family business, and keeping the business in the family, and not choosing other exit strategies that might be presented before them.
hmm
And it's interesting how you talk about some of the potential conflict that family members or business decisions that conversations may have. We had a webinar this past year that was on conflict, and it was all about the Goldilocks effect. Josh Barron presented it for us from Banyan Global, and he talked about you need healthy conflict. You can't have no conflict. You can't have all conflict all the time, but you need that give and take, and that is very healthy. And it sounds like that's something that has been embraced or is being embraced, and paid attention to within your family and your structure.
It is, but we've had to work really hard at it because the Ritters historically have had low tolerance. Love you, Ritters, but low tolerance for conflict. And so, truly, in the last year and change, we've had this culture shift where we are actively trying to practice saying what we truly mean, asking the questions that we have, feeling less self-conscious about appearing silly or dumb, and being genuine in our curiosity about not understanding something or not knowing, how did you come up with this, or why do you feel that way, or tell me more about something else. Um, and being brave about pursuing those difficult conversations sooner, not letting them get to a boil, right as soon as those feelings come up. We want to be talking about them at a simmer, and not when they're at a boil.
It's something that takes intentionality and practice and doesn't happen overnight. We host a family business retreat for families, and it's something we talk about early on in the beginning of the 3-day retreat is you all grew up together. You have spent your lives together. Everyone knows how to make jabs. And we are going
Mm,
to agree that the jabs are that they're not going to serve us well as we're trying to get through some challenges and some pain points that need to propel us forward. And it's so helpful to talk about it and name it and name it and tame it and move on.
yes. And to say, well, what are we like, what are we modeling? Who is it for? Like, that next generation, they're watching us and they're learning from us. And are we proud of what they're learning? And is this the legacy that we want to leave behind?
It's interesting that you talk about that, and especially your next gen development. When you host your May meetings and your fall retreat, are next gens always there at both?
Yes. Not all of our next gens are youngest. And when I'm saying next gen, I mean our kiddos. I know sometimes next gen means the 20s, the young adults bracket, but when we're talking about next gens, we really mean our youngest Ritters. Is that the group you're asking about, Stephanie?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, and we're trying to figure out, okay, what are these kids up to when the adults are in the meetings? And we don't want to miss that opportunity for them to be learning together and playing together. And so we are fleshing out our strategy. That is one of the efforts that the council is focused on right now. But we started a newsletter this year. The adults get lots of communication, but we haven't sent any regularly to the kids. So we began sending a newsletter this year. And then the content from that newsletter, it comes out the month before we meet. So they're getting two this year. The following month, some of the education time that they have together is spent reviewing that information. This year, our kids did an escape room and they had to retrieve the family council charter. Um, Another family enterprise in this story stole our family charter. And so the kids had to complete an escape room type activity to find the family charter, which was hidden up in their Grandy's hotel room. So they had to solve a million clues using specific things from our history and from family enterprise vocabulary that we were introducing to them. They had to solve a jigsaw puzzle and remember dates, and then they were able to retrieve the family charter, and they did a great job. But just trying to find engaging ways for the six gens to learn about the business, be excited about the enterprise, and make connections with one another. Because most importantly, we want them to look forward to seeing each other. Um, so we're putting together. We're definitely working hard to build meaningful programming for our next gens. We haven't solved all of the challenges, the age range, and sometimes there's different participation. Sometimes there's a conflict. Kids are at different ages. It's easier for some families to travel, and we're all spread out. But we do want to make it as easy as possible for families to be at meetings who want to be there, which includes paying for travel for all family members to attend meetings. We want to remove any of those barriers that would be keeping you home.
That's really powerful. And when we talk about passing the values from one generation to the next and keeping that legacy, what you're doing with the terminology and creating some excitement around being together as a family and talking about that, why we're in business together, and passing that value down, that is so important for that next generation to be excited about what the business could be in the future and to see themselves in that role someday. You talked a little bit about some of the outcomes that you're really proud of, and especially when it comes to family council. Is there anything else that you want to touch on in terms of Ritter and Company as a whole, the Ritter family, or the family council of a point of pride?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I hit a couple of things that are really feeling exciting. This culture change with increasing our tolerance for difficult conversations, for conflict, um, and that's really building trust. Hanging out together as a group, uh, that's really meaningful. I would say one thing that has really clicked for our family recently, and we've been talking about it for a couple of years, but it finally just felt like we collectively had an aha moment. It's that, and this is related to what we were just talking about with next gen. There are many different points of entry into feeling connected with the family enterprise. And for someone, it might be running the business. And that's their point of entry, and that is really exciting to them, and that is how they plug into the enterprise. And for somebody else, um, it might be family philanthropy, and that's what floats their boat. And maybe for the kids right now, it's the thought of getting to see cousins that they haven't seen since November, and they can't wait until May. Um, and so we are working hard to make sure there are opportunities for family members to be connected and engaged, um, and they don't all have to look the same way.
It's important to talk about that too, that we are all different. We all have different talents. We all have different
Mhm.
experiences that are going to come to the table and different passions that are going to drive us, and they all matter.
Yes, I mean it was even as, and this is a small thing, but it's not a small moment. We have a married in, um, and she's an excellent baker, and I called her and I said, "Can you will you bake something for the family for our afternoon break?" It's just like a little sugar surge and a little pick me up. And she did. She made these delicious cookies, and it was a great moment for family members to say, "This is amazing. Can I get the recipe? This is so yummy." She was able to share a story about how actually they didn't have cake at their wedding. She made these cookies because they're Peter, her husband's favorite cookie. And she also made some focaccia bread that we brought to we visited two tenant farmers, and as a host gift, she made them bread and she gave it to them. And that is just an example of a way that this individual was able to contribute her talents to the enterprise and feel, I hope she felt appreciated, um, and special and valued. And we don't need her to do to run the business. We just want her to show up, and we're so glad that she does.
And to be her. And that's
Hmm.
pretty special.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that story. It really hits
Hmm.
home on all the different contributions and talents that family members, married ins, next gens, children can play in the role of family success, family harmony, and the whole big picture.
Stephanie, can I add one more thing that I'm proud of, because I don't want to overlook the effort of my council members. Um, we are in this awesome space where we are challenging each other's points of view respectfully, but we're really pushing into dynamic conversations. we were having a discussion in the fall about a buy sell policy between shareholders to sell shares to other family members rather than back to the company. And there were some questions about, okay, well, there are worries the family might have related to control or somebody buying all the shares, and what would this mean? And so we just started to notice that worries were coming up. And we probably all know that some fears and worries are not logical. They can be emotional, and we just made space for fears and worries to be shared, and also pushed a little bit. Tell me more. Where is this coming from? Why do you feel that way? And I disagree. I see it differently. And having space for those conversations has led to, I think, more effective governance. And I'm just really proud of our group for saying, I don't agree with that, or I'm not sure about that, or I see it differently. It's exciting to be a part of that. And I think we end up at a better solution having looked at things from a number of different perspectives.
Very much so. I'll be interested to follow that end result. When you get to that, because that is such a healthy discussion to have around buy sell and about control, about power, about perspective. Thanks for sharing that story.
We did adopt a policy, and so we arrived, and it took a little bit of time, and there was a moment where the owners committee was like, well, maybe we should table this for now. Maybe we're not ready for this discussion. Um, and the family council has said, no, let's hang in there a little bit longer and see where we land.
That is great to hear. Congratulations to you and the family council for moving that forward.
Thank you.
We've moved to the part of our conversation where we have our 5 questions in 5 minutes, our family business 5, where we have a series of questions we ask all of our guests. So, Brittney, what's a book that's greatly influenced your life?
The obvious ones would be Crucial Conversations, Dare to Lead by Brene Brown, Five Dysfunctions of a Team. Those are some of the predictable ones, but something unpredictable would be The Whole Brain Child and Feeling Good. Those are two parenting books, actually, that I read before being a parent, because I was formerly a preschool teacher and very interested in childhood development. But those books are really just about how the brain works and how humans develop a sense of self and a sense of secure attachment to others in the world. And there are a lot of interesting nuggets about how humans work in those books.
Very interesting. Being in the midst of parenting myself, I'm going to have to check out those last two.
Yes.
You've been involved with Prairie Family Business Association just for a brief time, but I know that you've gotten involved and had some nice connections along the way. What has provided the most value to you?
Uh, I am fairly new in my membership, but honestly, Stephanie, I feel like I was able to talk with you and say, here's what I'm looking for, here's what I'm working on, these are some of my challenges. And you put me in touch with a few individuals, and I had one-to-one conversations and connected with people who are problem solving the same types of things and feeling like I had a more personal network was very meaningful. So honestly, I need to thank you for helping me make some new connections. That's been tremendous.
And I know it is shared appreciation from the people who you've connected with as well. It's been helpful
Good.
for them along their journey, and that's what we create, is that community that we're all in this together and we're all figuring out the best solution for us, and that's what we're here for at Prairie Family Business. Looking back on your family business, Ritter and Company, what do you most attribute success to?
I think it's the secret sauce with bold and savvy leadership and long-term perspective and patience. and knowing when it is time to shift and embrace something new or something different or scary, and when to stay the course, um, because it's about the next gen, um, the next group of people on their way in, and learning from those who came obviously before us. But some secret sauce and partnership between pushing and having savvy, bold leadership, and also respecting that long term perspective. That's a hard thing to achieve.
It is. And you're fortunate that you have those 6 generations now to look back on for the perspective, and that we can do it. And there's a bright
Mm-hmm.
road ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Who's someone from outside your family business who's been instrumental to the success?
I would say that some things that show up um, in my role as family council chair that are uh, superpowers, maybe, or my secret sauce, actually come from my training in my undergrad education as an actor. And I had a really small class. I had 12 people. I had a fabulous mentor, and we were constantly getting up in front of each other and presenting work. And it was vulnerable and it was fast paced, and we got feedback on the fly in real time. And the next class, we had to be ready to implement those changes, or defend the choices that we made. We provided constructive criticism to one another. We learned from each other, and I think that experience really influenced who I am as um, a learner.
That's so fascinating and interesting, and how full circle your world has come since your undergraduate education to now,
Hmm.
and how that is still influencing and impacting you today.
And there's an element of fake it till you make it, which I think is in maybe everybody experiences this. I'm not sure, but maybe everyone has a moment, a period of their careers where there's a fake it till you make it. So that actor piece of I'm gonna keep on keeping on as if I know exactly what I'm doing has allowed me to at least present with confidence, even if I was feeling a little pitter patter underneath.
Oh, I love that. Nothing wrong with that either. What's a lesson from a family member that's really stuck with you?
I have two. One is from my mother-in-law, Rhonda Ray, and she reminds me all the time that people are complex. People are more than one thing. And sometimes it's that polarizing piece about them that stands out, but they are more than just the thing that grinds your gear or gets under your skin or that you disagree with, and to see somebody as a whole person. And that is helpful in the family enterprise and otherwise. And the other lesson learned is from my husband's uncle Dan, who has been instrumental in the growth and success of the company. He is a former CEO of ERC, and he and I live in the same town now. We're in Chapel Hill, so I have the chance to have coffee dates with him and learn from him. And when I first started as full time chair, there was a moment where Uncle Dan pretty much just said, well, lead, damn it, go on. Just begin. Stop waiting for permission. Just begin. Do it. And I needed that tiny kick in the pants to stand fully in my responsibility and role as family council chair.
Especially as a married in, I'm sure. And I'm sure you
Yeah. Yes.
appreciated that
And
wisdom
he's a married in
coming.
too.
Oh, that's great.
Yes. Yes.
What great advice. I love that's
Hmm.
wonderful. Brittney, this has been a delightful conversation and really impactful. Some aspects of this that many family businesses can take to heart and start to take some work on. And as we talk about it, just one small step can make such a difference toward putting some governance in place, or putting the next step in place, or having the difficult conversations, or embracing values with the next gens. And there's a lot of pieces of this conversation that will be so helpful to families. So thank you so much.
Thank you. This was wonderful. And to those of you who are on this journey, it's really piece by piece and one foot in front of the other. These things do take time. So don't panic that all of these things are, you might be at different points of your journey than we are, but it's piece by piece.
And you're always evolving. You've never arrived. And the next 100 years will continue that evolution. So very powerful. Thank you so much, Brittney.
Thank you very much for having me.
And on that note, we've reached the end of the episode. Thank you to Brittney for sharing her passion for operating with a family council. As you heard Brittney explain, a family council, regardless of what generation your family business is in, can have a major positive impact on the future of your family and your business. Do you know what one of our highest rated programs is? Live case studies. In a live case study, your family will work with a team of professional advisors who have expertise working with family businesses to analyze your family business and provide you with a roadmap for the future of your business tailored to each of your family members. Participation in a live case study is a no-cost benefit of membership to Prairie Family Business Association. Learn more about the live case study process and read how they've impacted other family businesses at the link in the show notes. Thanks again for joining us today. Our inaugural season of the Family Business Connection will be 10 episodes featuring stories of all kinds of family business leaders. Be sure to follow or subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts.